Three,
Three,
two,
two,
one.
one.
It's good enough.
Good enough, good enough. All right. So, welcome back to Tana Liza Talks. I'm Liza.
And I'm Tana.
On this podcast, we cover topics that have been a big part of our life journeys as 20 something Khmer ish women.
For today's episode, we'll be delving into the great and big question of, are we Khmer enough?
Ooh, what that mean?
Do we feel Khmer? What does it even mean to feel Khmer?
Let's break it down. Yeah. I don't know, like straight up. Do you feel Khmer?
Yeah, I'd say I do feel Khmer. Because it's where I was born, it's where I was raised. Kindergarten, middle school, high school, all in Phnom Penh. I only came to the US in 2021. I'd say I feel more Khmer than Khmer American. But at the same time, it's that weird limbo because I also, like, when I'm in Cambodia and Phnom Penh or anywhere else, I don't feel Khmer because they're like, oh, like, look at you, you have an accent. I'm like, damn, I'm just trying my best over here. Like, shit. That's why we wanted to make a whole episode to break down this weird limbo that we often find ourselves in. Lately, I have come to the realization that we are not alone in this struggle of this identity limbo, no matter where we grew up, whether you're Khmer American, fully Khmer, or any other type of Khmer in you. You can also see it in, I think, the older generation too. And that's probably why there's so much friction between the younger Cambodian generation and the older Cambodian generation. It's because of the Khmer Rouge. For the listeners who do not know, in the 70s, there was a Khmer Communist Party that threw a coup with the government in 1975. They called it Year Zero, which was trying to convert Cambodia as a nation to communism. But that did not work. When it ended, that was another Year Zero for Cambodia as a nation, too. So I feel like the immensity of that plays a major role in this identity crisis or identity limbo that all of us as Cambodians are going through. But we want to better understand it because it can't just be that.
Yeah. I mean, the trauma and adversities faced by our elders don't extend to us, but we experience all that through their actions and how they deal with life and the stories that they tell us. I suppose it's strange because a lot of our elders strived to give us a better life than the ones that they lived. But in doing so, it created a larger rift between us, I think. No one could imagine the scale of globalization. And I feel like in every aspect of life, we are not the same as we once were. And that's not to say like our elders are stuck in the past because they have definitely tried their best to keep up with the changes. It's just that it's a totally different thing when we've literally grown up in such a different context or have not met as much like adversity as they have.
And nowhere near is it going to match that scale either.
Our parents absolutely don't deserve, no one deserves to go through the shit that they went through, the scale of it and everything. But it's like, it's also, I guess, a bit unfair for them to expect us to fully understand that either. I guess in both ways, like, we're all just trying to understand each other, and it's a bit hard because of the differences in our upbringing.
Absolutely. And comparing experiences is a major theme that happens in Cambodian circles. it's always like, oh, but you could have it worse, or oh, but I had it worse, or oh, but they
Mm-hmm.
had it worse. And it's just so ingrained in Cambodian circles that I feel like it's become normalized in a way like, oh, like you just got to deal with that. That's just the way they are. That's just the way it will be, tying into our previous episode on shame, that discussion of shame.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
It's like, yes, sure, we cannot change those people and their comparing sort of thinking. However, I feel like, especially to the younger generation, that is so easily molded by the opinions of the older generation because they have to rely on the older generation to grow up and become full, real, like actualized people who can take care of themselves, right? It's up to the younger generation to figure out how we come to terms with that.
Okay. I guess I want to take it back to the question. Are we Khmer? Why is this even so important to us? Like, because I have to admit, I get triggered by this question alone.
Girl, actually, I do too. Yeah, but you talk about it first. I'm interested to hear.
All right. So, context in my life is that I was sent to study in Singapore at the age of 7, and I lived with like other kids who came from all sorts of different backgrounds and were sent to study in Singapore. I was there up until the age of 13. In that time, I would come back and visit like home 4 times a year kind of thing whenever we had break. My parents made that decision to send me so far away because they were gambling with the future essentially. It seemed like if you were anyone with money and you wish well for your kids, it's either like try to enroll them in private schools in Phnom Penh or send them abroad as fast as you can, you know? Because like if you're abroad then you get those credentials and then, you know, hopefully the um education system out there is like better than the one at home and stuff, and you just get more opportunities that way. So like I see that, but also I'm like, haha, not great choice for uh I don't know, a 7-year-old who experienced that. But what confused me growing up was that whenever I came home, like I would do the things that my family members always do, you know, like normal shit like living, you know, living life, going to Suki Soup or something. I don't know if that's
Suki soup
hallmark of my culture,
unlocks
but
memories. Yes.
Suki Soup and, you know, like Monam Duk and stuff, you know, all the celebrations. And we go to Wat Sartak, getting water blessings. And,
Yeah.
you know, I didn't miss out on some of those kind of Khmer cultural experiences. What I missed out on were the memes. I don't know. I got old memes. I got old people memes because my cousins are older. Um, and I also got like a different culture literally imprinted on me, like the values of a Singaporean citizen. You know, they over there they taught me how to queue up, and they taught me, you know, like meritocracy and fairness and all this shit. I sang the national anthem back in Singapore every day. I took the pledge of their allegiance, even though I didn't need to. I sang their National Day theme song each year, which they released a new one every year. But then there's this one that people always love to sing each year, and it's called like "This is home, truly, where I know I must be." Or some shit, and dude, I get so patriotic. Even now, like if you played me that song, shit, girl, I'd be crying.
That's crazy. As a 7 year shit. Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, like, as far as I knew, like, I was meant to succeed in that environment, you know? Like, at the time, my future was in Singapore. I could only see that context, you know? I was brought back to Cambo at age 13 because trauma. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's when I got enrolled into this international school. That's where I met you. But technically, I was meant to come back and be more integrated into the culture again. But then because I was put into an international school that had major Western vibes, major like Anglo-Saxon vibes, it just made it feel like I was just growing in a greenhouse of like foreign plants or something, you
Oh
know?
my God. That's actually,
Mm.
I've never thought about it that way.
Every day, get to school, and there, like, we learned the shit that we learned, and that was like, I don't know, they wrote those textbooks in Switzerland or something. And then
Yeah.
after school, yeah, we go to Brown, to get a drink and yeah,
Oh,
let
shout out
support
Brown.
local
Brown coffee.
business. But yeah, but then like kind of if we were to, I don't know, just sit down with a someone who was studying at a public school, my public school at the time, I don't know if we'd have that much in common to talk about.
I get you. Because I think when I was a toddler, I grew up at a different school that was like a sort of local school. But then I got
Mm.
bullied. Like these kids would like pull on my hair and steal my food. And then my mom just she thought I was lying. So she came like one day, snuck like behind the fence to see for herself, and then she saw it. And then that day I remember she pulled me out of that school and put me into a new school, and she was like, okay, you're not going back there, you're going to this new school. And it was an international school, you know. So I think I was 4 or 5 years old when I got put into ISPP. I guess I have to
Oh
say
wow.
the name.
Well, you grew up at ISPP. I
I
didn't
grew
know
up at
this.
ISPP. Yeah.
uh,
So I was like 5 or something like that. 5, 4, 5, 6. I don't know. Memory is hazy. But
mm,
yeah, kindergarten all the way up till graduating high school, I was at ISPP.
mm,
Um, but growing up, I moved around a lot within Phnom Penh, right? So I would have all kinds of neighbors, and there was just one house that I lived in where I had finally neighbors that were like my age. And they were a little bit older than me too, and they went to a public high school. And we would, on the weekends or after school when I was free, we would play in this little alleyway together, like volleyball, or like with the thing where you tie the rubber bands and you like skip over it. Or I don't know, we would like draw together, whatever, in the little alleyway. Oh, that was cute. I miss that. But it was fun doing those activities with them and getting active with them because we were just kids, and we are having fun. But in terms of connecting with them beyond that, it was difficult just because we're raised in such different environments. I think that time period when I lived in that house was the most eye opening, and I was like, damn, I don't feel like Khmer at all when I interact with them. I just seem so westernized. But I wanted to be able to connect with them.
when you were hanging out with them, in what ways did you feel westernized or not Khmer enough with them?
When they would like tell me about local restaurants they would go to, or local hangout spots, just like their way of living, of being able to freely go out on their matho to hang out with friends whenever they wanted to. My parents, they were very overprotective of me. So just the thought of me hopping onto my own matho and just going wherever I wanted was just not, it was out of the question. I couldn't even walk to a cafe that was like a 5 minute walk from my house. It was crazy. Because of that, I guess, shelteredness, I was hungry to see the word or whatever. Kind of like entangled when she's like, I want to touch grass. Like, I want to see the lanterns. The lack of being involved with the local community firsthand was what made me feel westernized too. Because all I knew was school and then home. School, home, school, home. Nothing in between. Until like middle school, high school, I started carving out those opportunities for myself because I was sick of it. I was sick of it just being school home.
Damn, that is a really efficient but boxed up way of living. School home, school home.
Yeah. What about you? Did you, like, when you moved back to Phnom Penh, did you get any
Mhm.
opportunities to interact with, like, why am I talking about it like we're aliens? Hold on. I was gonna say locals. We're fucking locals. What am I saying?
Yeah, to be honest, at that point, I felt quite removed from my culture. Even coming back and having like opportunities to reconnect with the culture, it took me a while to actually feel reintegrated. Yeah, I would say that it felt like my family was encouraging me to be a part of the culture, but in a very specific way. Engage with the traditional arts kind of way. Go see an Apsara show. Or I don't think my mom really wanted me to like have a lot of local friends outside of who she knew, like her friends and their
Mm,
kids, or it felt like she didn't really like me being part of this the city and the country if it wasn't under her supervision. So it's just tough. That's
I
all.
understand.
Like a bit overprotective.
It was the same for me where I could only do things under their supervision at all times.
When I started feeling really connected to the culture was, you know, okay, I guess audience people don't know, but Tana, you know, how after we graduated high school, I guess like you had a gap year, I had a gap year. It was COVID times, but we were hanging out because COVID didn't really touch Cambodia, you see, until like a year later.
Yeah.
So we were both immersing ourselves in like the local art scene, just through photography and filmmaking. Oh wow, people are doing cool stuff here, and like we all want to share perspectives. And this is the making of new culture, like youth culture. So
Yes. Youth culture, period. That year when we got into that photography scene and connected with local artists in Phnom Penh was the most freeing year for me. And I saw a
mm,
different side of Phnom Penh. I feel like our parents were trying to prevent us from seeing that side. Naturally, as parents do, they're just worried about their kids getting involved with the wrong crowd. But I feel like the creative scene in Phnom Penh is a very misunderstood crowd because I feel
mm,
like a lot of the older generation, when it comes to the arts, whether it's, photography, filmmaking, music, they feel like the only people involved with that scene are steal or like, they do drugs or it's just sad that that's all they see. They don't see the art. Like,
mm,
wait, that's so fucking pretentious. Hold on. The older generation doesn't really value it just because they're so immersed with survival, which is all they've known, with like what a real living is, what making a real living is. In order to have society function, you need these businesses, you need doctors, you need lawyers. Who needs artists, right? That's
mm,
their mindset. Like,
mm.
but I
Yeah.
feel like it's just so repressed and like the divide is just too big to mend at the moment. So instead of explaining it to them and trying to intellectualize with them, I think the best that we can do as artists is to show them. A lot of family gatherings happen where it's just like, oh, there's this other family thing you need to go. Oh, there's this other family friend thing that you need to go to. And then you just like sit there as sort of just like an object and listen to them talk and talk. And then you need to talk about
Mm.
yourself too. And it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm thinking like it really could just be that we're in different mindsets, different modes than like the people who like to, go to events and sit and talk and judge each other.
Yeah, the judging
um,
part, heavy on the judging part. Heavy on the judging
the
part.
judging. When you mentioned how the older gens don't get the arts, they don't get it. It's so weird because like if you were to tell them that, then they're like, "No, we love the arts. Here's what you kids should be doing is preserving
Yeah.
like the traditional art. How about that? And it's like, first of all, there's already some people who are doing that, and secondly, it's like, but we're Khmer too, and this is the continuation of culture, and of course we're gonna remix.
Remix edition.
Like we still need to express what our truths are, what we think in this time, and maybe how they discourage us from expressing ourselves is reflective of how unsafe it can be even now to express ourselves politically and such, socially
Mm.
and such. There's just like, we're at this intersection of like, damn, we just need to speak about certain things or all the things. We just need to get it out there, and yet we're gonna be locked up or like, I don't know,
Yes.
like repercussions for the family, you lose face, or
Right.
yeah, I get them, but also like, you can't just shut up in the face of this, like we
Yeah.
must go on. Mm.
Yes. Yes.
Do you think that there can be a balance? Because I feel like right now it's tense.
It is very tense right now. Last night, I went to Cambodia Town Film Festival in Long Beach, California. There was a live Q&A panel with some of the directors of the short films block that they had. I got to speak with some of those filmmakers and some of the actors too about what we're talking about right now. Family, what Cambodian culture is, and this was my first time getting involved with the Khmer American community in Long Beach. What I find interesting is this discussion of, will family ever understand what we're trying to do? No matter what level you reach in the film industry, no accolade or no recognition will be enough to prove to family that what you're doing makes sense. And this is where I realized, like, shit, I think this friction between family will always be existent, and it's more about finding coping strategies to maintain some sort of relationship with them, because family is important to us, or at least for me. I know family is important to me no matter how much I try to like steer away from that statement. But how do I make them see what I'm seeing? And the answer to that is, you're never going to be able to make them see what you're seeing. You're never going to be able to make family understand what you're trying to do. You just got to do it. You define success for yourself. And if you show them that you're able to take care of yourself, as long as you show them you're serious about it through action, I think that's the best we can do.
Yeah. So, yeah, we want to shoehorn in this part about how the internet has shaped our identity and relationship to our culture, my culture. Tana, when did you first get online?
Well, I was exposed to the internet at a very young age. I forget how old exactly, but I do remember being on that side of YouTube when Ryan Higa, Kev Jumba,
Oh,
Wong Fu Productions, and all that were a Smosh, PewDiePie, when they
the
were
classics.
the classic YouTube era. Yes. You know, it was required for school, right? So that's partly why I got access to it so young. I took full advantage of it because I discovered this world that allowed me the emotional connection that I wasn't getting in my day-to-day life, that I like craved so much. So I had like this whole online persona. I was on multiple like online social games because it was like my escape and my emotional crutch. I was just on the internet a lot. It would be what I looked forward to the most, getting out of school, going to bed, waking up. It was kind of
Mm.
intense, I won't lie. I had this era of making little videos with my online friends, with our little game avatars, like little music videos, and also just, I don't know, it was like a whole thing. That's the part where the westernized part in my identity came from, was from the internet.
Uh, you know how with the internet, you could like just play games that even your friends in the local area don't even play, and
Mm-hmm.
you are accessing sites that your mom don't know about.
Yes.
And yeah, just like kind of that sense of like you can really have your personalized little bubble online. I don't know, like do you remember how that made you feel?
Yeah. I felt like a secret agent.
Oh.
Because in school, I was just very low key. I was the quiet kid who didn't say much, and I just really liked being on the down low. Like, I didn't want to get involved with shit in real life. I had major social anxiety. It was awful. Like, online, I was the opposite. And it was just so cathartic for me. I don't think I revealed that side of me to anyone back then. But I do remember in fourth or fifth grade, I did show some of those music videos that I made to my fifth grade teacher and like a couple friends. We were just hanging out in her classroom over like recess. And they're like, "Oh, this is really good. Have you considered a career in this?" And I'm like, "Huh?" Because I didn't know it was a thing. I was just like, doing it for fun as an escape. But I wasn't taking them seriously when they said that. They were like, "Yeah, no, this is like, you're really good at this. Like, maybe you should keep doing this." I'm like, "No. The only thing I could be is a doctor, a lawyer, or all I could do is have a real job. This is not a real job." That's what I thought back then. So I didn't take them seriously when they said that. But how ironic now that I in filmmaking.
Of her. I really do think a lot of us in this generation, like, we really just grew up online, to be honest.
For real, for real.
It's an ever more prevalent phenomenon that kids are growing up in this way, like with seemingly the whole world's culture in the palm of their hands. Like, I don't know, I see my younger nieces and nephews like play Roblox. I don't even understand how they conceptualize themselves. Like, what is their identity? How do they see themselves?
Yeah.
Probably way weirder than us.
Yeah.
I guess I bring this up just because, like, some of us express anxiety about losing the culture. Culture is delicate, but I feel like there is a way to pass the love on to the younger generation, but also, hey, if the internet is their culture, then let the internet be part of their culture too. Like,
Personally, for me, with like that the aspect of shaming involved with feeling Khmer enough or not Khmer enough, I think questioning that in itself makes me just get in my own head so much because I want to have a feeling or a sense of community. However, I haven't necessarily found that sort of community that I am seeking. If it's Cambodian culture, wanting to be Cambodian enough, Khmer enough. Just this whole questioning of like, what do we need to do to fit in is just not a very prosperous mindset to adopt. And what I have come to realize the past few years, there is no such thing as the scene of Khmer people. There's no such thing as the scene of filmmakers. There's no such thing as the scene of artists, scene of blank. Because defining what all of these things mean for you is how you like shape your own identity. Because if you try to use these quote unquote scenes, you put your own unique identity at stake because you're trying to mold yourself to fit in with a scene or to quote unquote make it in a scene. It takes away from what makes all of us so special as people. And it might sound cheesy and corny, but the more there are spaces to allow people to be their authentic self, the more prosperous these people will be in their own individual lives.
hmm like we mentioned earlier, how self-expression feels really suppressed. People feel repressed. There's shame and it's nice to learn about these things, and it's nice to discuss it in our context, like being Khmer, being young, and all these things. Maybe you were just two hopeful artists thinking that authenticity in conversations can change the world.
It
or at
can
least our
though,
communities.
because like we said, every problem in the world is a relationship problem.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So it starts with us.
Exactly. So to answer the question, are we Khmer enough? Yeah, because we get to decide that. It's like asking.
You're so right.
It's like asking, are we good enough? The fact, it's like all of us are good enough, because we are someone right now.
You're right, you're right, you're right.
We done.
The
The end. Tune in next time.